Star Wars Rebels Season 2 Finale, Twilight of the Apprentice. Now, before I get into the review, I definitely want to let you guys know that I actually did a live reaction for this episode. Mostly because it was the finale. I was like, I know some craziness is going to happen. I have to do a live reaction video for the Season 2 finale. So, that, I plan on uploading sometime later tomorrow, if not sometime on Friday. But I was like, because it was the finale, I was like, it's gonna be too crazy for me not to do it. You know, with the promos and everything, and Vader was in it, the Inquisitors were in it, Ahsoka's fighting Vader, all this stuff. I was like, and especially then Darth Maul and everything. Holy crap! And you will see, like, I didn't think I'd have too many expressions because normally I'm like, that's why I don't do live reactions because normally it's like, oh, I'll have one moment here, one moment there, and excuse me. I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna have a couple moments like, holy crap, this happened or that happened, but it would end up being like a 5 minute video or something super tiny. And then going through the episode, which first off, I was so happy when I got home and I looked on the info and it said 60 minutes because I had no idea if this was going to be 30 minutes or an hour because they've done that before where it's like, and specifically the example that comes to mind is the episode with the young force sensitive babies. And it was like that episode seems like it would be a ton of stuff. It would have to be an hour long, but they crammed it all into half an hour. And I was like, well, it sucks that it'll only be half an hour, but I thought that they would still do it as a half-hour finale. And so I was super happy. That was the first great freaking surprise that happened, and it was an hour-long finale. I was like, that is great because the show is so amazing, and it seemed like they actually did less commercials for the hour than they normally do for like the half hour when it comes on any other week. So that made it even better. It was just like a nice full-on episode, and I loved every single minute of it. Like it just starts off great. They get to Malachor. Very simple. We have Ahsoka, we have Kanan, we have Ezra, we have Chopper. Chopper stays on the ship. He shows up every couple bits and pieces here and there. Then we have our very first fight with the new Inquisitor, who may or may not be alive because they did a couple of things. Because I was like, okay, well he's dead. When his lightsaber splits up and he falls, and then they did that a little bit later after Kanan was fighting against Maul. And so he knocked him off, and he ended up surviving. They have him at the end. So I was like, all right, well, I figured I was like, they're not gonna kill Darth Maul off. So I was like, well, if I go by the logic, if he can make it, then I guess I'll go by the logic that the other Inquisitor could make it, because it was a pyramid, so it was on a slope anyway. He could have easily used the Force as he was falling and pushed himself towards the slope, and he would have been fine. Because even with the Force, technically, they could just grab rocks and use the Force to kind of slow themselves down if they need to, if they're good enough with it. Not everyone can just bare hand like a cliff or something if they're falling, but some people who are really powerful in the Force can easily do stuff like that. So it was like, I don't know. He was an Inquisitor, so generally Inquisitors are kind of Sith in training is basically what they all are. So I don't know. He may or may not have survived. I hope he did because at least then that would be some familiar Inquisitor in Season 3, which I could not believe they killed off all three Inquisitors, which in one regard upset me because I mentioned before, I was like, I feel like they're going to kill at least one of the Inquisitors is what I mentioned. And I was like, if they have to, I hope they kill the fifth brother off because I love the seventh sister as a character. And I'm still not sure if I have their numbers mixed up or not, so I hope it is seventh sister and I have the alliteration right. But I was like, I really hope she makes it because I like her character. She's really sort of like, she makes the puns and she makes, well, not really puns, but she makes the jokes and she's a little cocky and stuff, and she plays around with them when they're fighting, and plus she uses the robots and stuff, or the droids, and it's like, alright, I like her style of fighting because it's a little different. She of course uses the lightsabers, but she uses these droids to help her fight as well, and I love that. And then Kanan, Kanan and Ahsoka are fighting the, I guess, fifth brother and the new guy, whoever he is, because they don't really give him a title. But they're fighting against him, and so then we have Ezra and Darth Maul, who are together most of this episode, which was just amazing. Once again, every freaking second of that was great. And then, so they're fighting against her, and they stop her. And so Darth Maul is doing the Force choke, and all he's trying to do is push Ezra to be his apprentice and be, his dark apprentice. And so he's trying to do that, and of course Ezra doesn't go through with it because he'd be pushing towards the dark side really. And so he doesn't do it, and I was like, okay, she's gonna do something because she smiles, and I thought what she was gonna do was like flip her lightsaber on and try to hit Ezra, but she'd miss or whatever, and then maybe that would distract Maul, and she'd maybe retreat from the battle because she already clearly lost, so she'd take off instead of trying to start all over. But instead, that happens, and Darth Maul is mad, like, this is, and he basically admits it at the end, like, oh, my apprentice. So in that moment, he's like, my apprentice failed. I'm gonna push him to kill next time, and he just chucks his lightsaber at her, and he kills her. And I was like, no, that made me so upset because I loved her character, and they've only been in this season, and not that much of it, of course. So I was really upset. I was like, crap, they killed her off, but this guy lives, and I don't even like him at all. And then we went to the second fight, and Kanan goes on, or Ezra goes on. I don't know why I keep mixing them up, but Ezra goes on, and Maul goes to help Ahsoka and Kanan, and then he takes down the big guy. I was like, oh crap, they killed him too. And then the new guy has his lightsaber mess up, and he's like, okay, well screw this. I'm 3-on-1. I'm flying out of here. And then it splits in half, and he falls down. So he, like I said, he could be dead. He could be alive. And I was like, I can't believe they just did that. They wiped out all the Inquisitors, at least for sure, guaranteed. The two that we've known. The third guy could survive, and we might get to know him later. But I liked him. I thought he was cool. He was very agile. I believe it was during that fight against Maul, Ahsoka, and Kanan. He was moving around a lot and stuff, and I was like, all right, I really like him because he's very, very agile. So that looked really cool visually, and I actually liked his outfit too. Like his helmet, I thought looked pretty cool, and his outfit was fairly similar to theirs, but he had a different helmet. So I was like, all right, that looks cool, a little different, and he was some sort of creature. I'm not sure. I'm sure some people would know straight just from the hands, but I believe he had 4 fingers, but it was like sort of turquoise color, and then the black fingernails. But I was like, I like him. He's pretty agile and stuff. Um, didn't seem like the strongest really, but we'll see if he even survived. We'll probably see him in season 3. But I couldn't believe they did that. They killed all of them off. Kind of jumping back to the beginning of the episode, Darth Maul in general. We got Darth Maul. And so it starts off, it's kind of old hermit Darth Maul. When I first saw him, I was thinking, like, he's, Darth Yoda right now. And so he's walking with the cane and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, it would be interesting. I mentioned this when I was doing the live review video. I was like, it would be interesting if, he's walking around with the cane and then he pulls a full-on Yoda and is like, oh, let me drop this cane, and then he's flipping and flying. And that's exactly what happens. And it was cool because before that, it didn't really dawn on me, but he would be the same age as Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's fairly old at this point because this is about 7 years or so before the first movie, and he was, Alec McGinnis was an older man when the original movies came out, so it was older Obi-Wan Kenobi, gray hair and everything, and I was like, that would be Darth Maul, that would be him, but it's slightly different because he is, much like Vader, he's like half man, so he wouldn't have those same physical restraints, at least not as far as jumping physically and stuff like that and the flipping and spinning. It would be for his upper body, but for his bottom half, he'd just be moving around, and it would be no exertion on his body. I would assume the technology as far as robotics and stuff and the like cybernetics and things like that in the Star Wars universe, I don't exactly have a 100% knowledge of, but clearly it's super advanced because he's just walking around. Also, he has new legs, of course, compared to when he was in Clone Wars, and he had sort of like the claw-like legs and stuff. He has like natural-looking robotic metal legs, which I thought looked really cool because I preferred those to pretty much all of Clone Wars. He had like that really obvious like claw-style robotic thing, and I got used to it after a while. But I remember when it was first introduced, I was like, I don't like that too much because it just looked so obvious. It didn't really look that cool. It was like, here's top half Darth Maul, and then the bottom half is just like crazy robot legs. So I like the fact that it was a nice little blend where it just looked like he had normal legs. And I was like, I like that a lot better than kind of the claw things he had for Clone Wars. Even though, like I said, I got used to him because after a while it's like, who cares? It's Darth Maul, and plus he had he's with his brothers. Like, this is epic. I don't care what he looks like. He could go from red to pink. It doesn't matter anymore. After a while, it was just like, it's Darth Maul again. But I loved what they did with him in this episode. I cannot wait to see Darth Maul in season 3. I don't know. I mean, with all this stuff that they did for Ezra, like, slightly dark side Ezra, I feel like he could easily come back and he could have the potential, or realize at least that there's some at least minute potential to push Ezra to the dark side, and he'd have his own apprentice. And they did a lot of that in this episode, which I really loved. He did a lot of the no more, no less thing, which I love because I don't think they've done that at all in the series. And so it was like, oh, two people have to do it. No more, no less, master and apprentice. And so every time he said no more, no less, it was in my head. It was just like there's always two, a master and apprentice. He said it backwards because it was no more, no less is the last thing normally. But every time he said it, I was like master and apprentice. And then eventually, he kind of officially says it at the end, where it's like he wants Ezra to be his Sith apprentice, and it was just amazing. I love seeing every single second of it. He's like working with Ezra, and he even in the beginning, he has like that first push where he's like, I can't lift this door, and Darth Maul is like, well, just Maul now. He's no longer Darth Maul. He's just Maul, but he convinces him like, use the anger within you, and it'll give you more power. And I got like a real Palpatine sense, especially when he had the hood on early on. I was like mimicking him a little bit, like, let the hate flow through you and stuff. But it was really good. I really loved that. And then, of course, he's helping them out a little bit at the end, and we find out that the reason the Inquisitors are even on the planet is to find not only Maul, but to also get, of course, the holocron. But I loved it. I was like, alright, he's fighting against them. He's actually turned a new leaf. Somewhat, like, he's kind of on his own side. Even from the beginning, I figured that. And I was like, he's probably playing them. But I was like, alright, when he actually helped them fight, I was like, he's at least not playing them, but he's probably still on his own side. So he's at least, kind of playing them in the middle, not like, completely going to trick them later. But it was just like, alright, it made sense. Because, of course, if you saw Clone Wars, everything he said was technically true. He really was on his own side. He did want an apprentice, though, but he was helping them because it's like, alright, well, if that happens, they'll just, if these Jedi lose, I'll lose because, of course, they'll kill me off. But he knew the right thing to do, and I loved that. I thought it was really great. And he says, like, I used to be a Sith, but they betrayed me. They killed my brother. They took everything from me, and so I left. Like, I'm not Darth Maul. I'm no longer a Sith, but I'm a Force user. So he's no longer a Sith, just like Ahsoka's no longer a Jedi, which was a great line towards the end of the... I think they did it twice, actually. And it was just really good. I really loved that. But Darth Maul was awesome in it. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm really happy that he survived. I was really happy to see, he made it off and, he flew away. The ending fight scene had me terrified because I really wasn't sure what was going to happen. Like, after they killed off the Inquisitors, I was like, okay, they could still easily kill off Ahsoka. Obviously, Vader's 100% protected. And they could kill Darth Maul if they wanted to. Fortunately, all three survived, but I don't know what's happening with Ahsoka, because that ending scene where they kind of show her walking away, I couldn't tell, and I was trying to do this while I was watching. I even rewound it. I was like, I can't tell if her arm is like this, where she's holding her other arm, or if her left arm is completely chopped off or something. It's impossible to tell because it's kind of so far back. And maybe if I rewound it and did in slow motion, I might see that that's her hand on her shoulder or something like that. But it kind of looked like she may have only had one arm or something. Like he may have chopped one of her arms off. But that entire fight, I was like, I don't know. They played the music, and they had the stuff where it's like, you can't, revenge is not the way, that was one of the moments. Like, revenge isn't one of the ways of the Jedi. And it's like, I'm no longer, I'm no Jedi. And so I love that, and it was really great. And we got to see that fight, which was really awesome, insanely scary all the way through. Because I really thought, because it's Vader, we know he's not gonna die, and it's like, I don't know if that, the way they did it, of course she didn't, but it's like they easily could have, because we know Vader won't die, and it's just like, will she live through this moment? Because theoretically, she can't live forever, so they may do it in the show, but they may do it where she just lives. But they probably won't. I don't know. I really don't know. But fortunately, she survives this one. They assume that she's dead. The team doesn't know that she's alive because of the explosion in general. They assume that they all died. But, excuse me, fortunately, she survives. Of course, Vader survives. We get to see him with his mask off. He kind of looks like himself, so they didn't do sort of Return of the Jedi style, or even Empire Strikes Back style, where he has the really messed up face. They kind of did it where he looks fairly normal underneath. So I thought that was an interesting take on it. Instead of doing like the really pale face stuff, they just did it where he looks fairly normal underneath. But I loved it. I thought that was really, really good. Um, I can't say how happy I am enough that Ahsoka survived, because I was like, and I was like, if they kill her, I might actually like legitimately cry right now if they do that. So I was really happy that they didn't. Darth Maul makes it. Happy to see where they take that. Vader makes it. Don't know if how much we're gonna really get to see of him, because he was basically only in the premiere and the finale. I don't believe he was in any. I think he may have been in like one other episode in between, but I can't really remember. But he's been in like 3 episodes total this season. But it's been like every time was perfect though, because that was the big thing for this season. Like, holy crap, Darth Vader is in this season. And then it was perfect. He was hardly in it whatsoever, literally beginning and end. And it's like, you know what? That's all he needed to be in, because it was freaking perfect both times. So, love the way they did it. There was another episode. It was when Ahsoka did find him, when she first sensed him. And I don't believe that was the same as the premiere. But it was great. Like, it was great to have him in there. Um, Kanan versus Maul, very awesome. That was another moment when I was scared they might kill Ahsoka if Darth Maul was actually better than her. But I love that. That was a great freaking moment. They did a little hint like to Kylo Ren's lightsaber really early on with their when they first get to the like I guess the actual surface of the planet, and there's all these bodies that are kind of just like you know basically destroyed, which we find out is because of the machine, or basically the temple, which is a full on weapon. At the end of the episode, that's what happened. I'm assuming someone got control of it and just said, screw it, destroy everyone that's there, which makes sense if it was the Sith. It's like, well, my enemies are there, so are my allies, but it's also the Sith, so they don't care. So just wipe out everything, kill all my enemies, and then everyone was destroyed as well. But, they do the little hint where, it's kind of like the sort of broadsword style lightsaber, and it was green, so that was actually a nice little difference. But, Ezra, turns it on, and we get to see that style of lightsaber. Which, speaking of lightsabers, Ezra's gets destroyed. So Ezra's getting a new lightsaber in season 3, which I can't wait to see if it'll be blue again. We don't see him like hold on to another lightsaber or even take out a crystal. So he didn't take the green crystal out of the lightsaber that he picked up, but he's got to get a new one. So I don't know. I'm very curious if he's gonna have a blue lightsaber again, or maybe if he'll have a green lightsaber, or have like one of the crazier colors, get like a gold lightsaber, a purple lightsaber, or maybe even a white lightsaber, like Ahsoka. But either way, I'm excited to see where what he ends up getting. That'll be really cool. And if he makes a nice, unique adjustment, like if he'll do something like the gun, because that was one of the cool things. Like, it looked weird, and I didn't really like it when he first got it. And I think that was a big thing when it first happened. Like, a lot of people didn't like it because it looked so weird, but it had that style. It was a unique style where he turns the lightsaber off. It's a stun gun basically, and that was a cool thing that he could do. And he could shoot it while it was in, while the actual crystal was in use, while it was a full-on lightsaber. So I'm definitely wondering if he'll do something similar to that. I'm sure he won't. They won't recreate the exact same one. So that's what has me really excited. Like, will they give him a different modification for his new lightsaber, or will it be like another weapon? But even though it might be the same stun type of thing, will it be in a different form or something like that? So, really looking forward to it. Darth Maul, I mentioned, I was really happy to see that he was jumping around all over the place. I was very happy to see that he still had a double-sided lightsaber, which it's not his original lightsaber, of course. But I don't think it's even the one that he had from Clone Wars. But it was really awesome, because he has it inside the cane, and I was like, okay. And it's like, even when I saw it, I was like, okay, he at least has one side of the lightsaber. And I thought he would only have maybe the one side, and he would use his actual staff to make it sort of like a longsword almost. But then he takes it out, and he has a double-sided lightsaber plus his cane, and he kind of uses it almost like a double-sided katana, and using the sheath as another way to like deflect against your enemy. And I was like, that is great, because I thought it would be one-sided, which, Darth Maul was like the person to truly introduce, at least to everyone, that loves Star Wars, the double-sided lightsaber. I don't know if those even existed before the movie, before, of course, Phantom Menace, and I'm sure they did, but that was the one where it's like everyone sees now double-sided lightsabers, and they've really kind of put a mainstream ever since, which I personally love, because ever since I saw that, which I believe I had that idea before the movie came out, but it was just like, that's gonna be freaking amazing. Like, I definitely want to see that. But I certainly loved it. My camera's gonna cut off pretty soon. I think I'm actually gonna cut this and edit in the next piece. Well, actually, I got. There's not actually. I should be able to finish this in time, like the next 2 minutes. But I was really happy to see that, and I thought it was really cool. I was like, all right, it wasn't just single sided; it was still double sided. We got to see him fight like crazy, which was really fun. He survived his fight against Kanan. He actually blinds him, and I don't know if they did this as a reference or they did it. I don't know if it was on purpose, an on purpose reference, or a coincidental reference. But Sam Witwer, who plays Darth Maul in this, as well as Clone Wars, I think everybody knows this at this point, but for anyone who doesn't, he was Starkiller in the Force Unleashed video games 1 and 2. Unfortunately, there was no 3 because they rushed the second game and it got canceled. So sadly, it just cut off at 2 with a great epic cliffhanger with Vader actually being imprisoned by the rebels, which is like the craziest ending ever. And then, they screwed up, rushed in the second game, and it kind of got panned, so no third. But in those 2 games, Starkiller's apprentice, or Starkiller's master, General Coda, is also blind. So I don't know if that was an on-purpose reference or what the deal was, but I was like, that's actually really awesome. Whether it's on purpose or not, that's a cool little reference. It connects either way. Like, oh, Darth Maul, just through the actor, obviously it connects, and not the characters themselves, but it's like through the actor when he was, the Sith in Force Unleashed, when he was turning to the light side of the Force, it was General Coda who was blind, and now when he's playing Darth Maul or just Maul now, as the Sith character, he blinds the, light side master. So I was like, that was awesome. Fight was amazing, and, Kanan puts the helmet on of the Jedi, I believe it was a Jedi Guard, Jedi Counselor, or something like that. But that was really great. The entire ending, actually, this is going to cut off. I'm not going to have enough time. So what I'm going to do is cut this here. This will probably only be like an extra 10 minutes or so, but I'm going to cut this here and then just jump into the next segment, which really will be basically just the end of this episode. So I'm going to cut this right here. Okay, so with the end of this episode, we have probably like just the greatest ending. Like, we have the little montage of what happened with the characters. We have Darth Maul taken off. We have Ahsoka and Vader both surviving the blast. We have they do a little shot of Kanan where he turns around and he's got the bandages, which I assume is not going to be fixed. I think he will be blind permanently through the rest of the series. And I don't know if he'll have a scar or if they're going to do kind of the bandage thing where he has bandages permanently, or how they're going to play that. But I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out. But then we get the final scene of this episode, and this whole finale has been people going from, or people embracing different sides of the Force. We have the light side, we have the dark side, we have all of Star Wars is light side and dark side training. Really, the main course of Star Wars is training to be a Jedi and being taunted by the dark side. That's Luke's story. He passed, at least temporarily, because he does turn to the dark side in the EU, which technically doesn't exist. But he passes, at least in the films, he does pass, and then he turns into a Sith later on in the comic books temporarily. But his father didn't pass whatsoever. He was trained as a Jedi, he was raised to be a Jedi, and he was taunted by the Sith based on what he could receive from that, and he turns to the dark side and destroys everything. Then we have Luke from the original series, same thing. He passes the test really, and he stays on the light side, although he would have turned to the dark side because he was, even in Return of the Jedi. That was the whole thing. He's in all black and everything, and that's kind of the look. And he was going to kill the Emperor, but of course what they wanted to do was have him try to kill the Emperor, but ultimately take down his father so that he could be the new apprentice. It was like, Palpatine doesn't actually want to die. He just wants him to try to kill him, and then they, turn him to the dark side through the battle, actually. But that was the theme of this episode, and we had the hint of Ezra, turning to the dark side when they went to the Jedi Temple and everything, and that was the hint, and that was meant to be like the future, Ezra's future. He would turn to the dark side, or he would bring about a lot of danger. And then we have this whole episode. It's Darth Maul teaching Ezra how to be dark, how to use the dark side of the Force, how to use his anger, how to use his rage, how to embrace the the rage inside of him and use that as fuel for power. And it worked. And he did it when they went through the weird. I don't know what the deal was with that, with all the lifting of the walls and stuff, but it worked when they did that. And he used that anger. And the whole episode, it's like, oh, you can't do this. You can't open that holocron. That's only for the Sith. And we have this whole episode. All this craziness happens. We have people that are lost, seemingly, to the characters. People that are lost. A mission that ultimately succeeds, but they're tricked. Kanan is, wounded. They think that Ahsoka's dead. And we have this ending scene. All this stuff is happening. They've lost one of their closest members. And we have Ezra in his room with the holocron, and it opens up. Like, it opens up, and there's this beam of light, and, they do it. And I was really freaked out when they first did it, because, of course, as we know, when you go Sith, it like, physically changes people. It changes, like, their eyes and stuff. They have, like, the yellow, basically, like, cat eyes, almost. That's, like, all Sith users. So I thought for a second when he looked up, that's what they were going to show us. Like, his eyes were, like, full on, yellow or something, which would have been insane. Which that would have been full dark side, and I guess that would have been a bit too much of a push, because then you'd have to revert, and I don't know if I've ever officially seen that where someone reverts from dark side to light side, and, like, their eyes change and everything. But if you go from light to dark, you do get that physical eye change. So when they do that little thing, and it's like, it's red underneath, of course, to symbolize the fact that it's him embracing at least enough of the dark side to open this holocron. Like, the holocron recognized that he was using enough of the dark side of the Force, and that's just a perfect ending. Like, it just, the whole episode led up to this ending, and it's Darth Maul, or Maul, I'm just gonna call him Darth Maul. I think we all will, but Darth Maul teaching him and guiding him and tricking him, really. Like, you can call me old master and stuff, and acting like he's a bit fragile until the fight needs to happen, and doing everything he can to be like, hey, I'm on your team, and this is what the dark side is about. But using the Force can be about this. Even though he's talking about the dark side, he just mentions, like, oh, it's just the Force. Like, it's this. It can be this. This is the way of the Jedi, but this is just the Force in general. And he doesn't, of course, specify, like, this is technically the dark side of the Force, but he's like, oh, this is what the Jedi use in the Force, and this is just everything. Basically, he kind of plays it like this is everything outside of that, but of course, it's the dark side that he's talking about, and I love that. And it's just the whole episode all the way through, running away from battles and taking off, and splitting up, so he could kind of taunt Ezra with these promises of power and dark side stuff. Just doing dark side and talking about how running away from Vader and stuff like that would be cowardice, and how they would could fight against and take down the people that killed all their friends and are trying to destroy the galaxy pretty much with the the Empire, and just all this stuff. And it was just like, man, this is amazing. And then we get that ending of him opening up that holocron, and it was just like, I just don't know what to think. I don't know where they're going to take that, or how they're going to do it, if there's going to be a time skip, if it's going to be right when it happens, or what the case is going to be. But I think Season 3 is really going to blow us away as far as the emotional toll. I think should be pretty amazing for Season 3, because we're going to have Ezra truly getting darker, because that was... they really hinted at that more, I felt, in Season 1 than they did this season. Because in an example I used, once again, when I was doing, like, the live reaction, that first time he ever did something dark side, when they were fighting against the Grand Inquisitor, and he saw Kanan get knocked out, he knew they couldn't win that battle, and he summoned the giant, like, adult version of those creatures that were in, like, that hangar bay, and they were summoning all the little ones, but those are nothing, and he lost it, and he summons the giant version, and that was full on dark side. It was malicious, and he wanted it to destroy the Grand Inquisitor. and it even took him out. It knocked him unconscious using that much dark power because he had done it. He hadn't tapped into not only that much power in general, but it was also the dark side that he tapped into. And with him being stronger now, I'm curious to see how they're going to play that because he could potentially control it and really straddle the line, which he's not, of course, he's not supposed to as a Jedi, but he could potentially straddle that line very well. And then he could also go too far to the dark side. He could want that revenge because it's easy to want revenge, and that's the thing with the Jedi. Like, it's easy to be angry, and it's just like real life. It's much easier to just be angry and give in to hating someone or wanting revenge than it is to be calm and collected and say, you know what, I want revenge, but I'm not going to go out and just try to murder you. I'm going to maybe bring you to justice or something. But that's the way of the Jedi, and Ezra's never really been that character. Even from the beginning, that's never really been who he was. So I love that they did this and they went, you know, probably like the perfect level of dark side with his character, where he's able to open this up, and we'll just have to see the reaction from Kanan, which like I said, I personally can't wait to see that. I don't know when they're gonna find out Ahsoka's alive, or Vader's alive, or Darth Maul is alive, but all of that is going to be absolutely amazing. So I cannot wait for season 3. I really, really love this episode. It was a great finale. Super happy it was an hour long. That couldn't have been better. Um, God, honestly, I wish if there was some way to just see this episode in theaters. That's all I would need to see. Like, just season 2 finale just in theaters would be beautiful. But it was a great, great season finale. Certainly loved it. Of course, want to know everything you guys thought about this finale, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts. Somehow your least favorite parts, if you have a least favorite part, which I guess you can have. I said the same thing in the reaction. I was like, you can have a least favorite part, but there are no bad parts in this, period. But it was just an amazing episode. Of course, want to know what you guys thought about where this finale leads us, or leaves us, I guess, really, for season 3, where you think they'll be taking season 3. Definitely what reaction you think we're going to be getting from Kanan as far as Ezra unlocking the holocron, even though it's meant to only be for Sith. Everything you guys want to see from season 3. I know for me personally, Darth Maul has always been one of my favorites. He was the best thing about Phantom Menace as far as I was concerned. When that came out, I didn't care. Also I was much younger, so I didn't see it as like, oh, this movie sucks compared to the originals. But even now, whenever I see it, it's like, man, that ending fight, everyone will say the same thing. There are two things about the prequels in general. Obi-Wan is still really awesome in that. Ewan McGregor did a great job. And Darth Maul should have been in all 3 movies. Like, two people, and Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson did Qui-Gon Jinn really sweet. But Darth Maul was just the thing. Like, they have this epic battle with an epic character who says like 3 lines, whole movie. But he looks awesome with the makeup and the spikes, and he had gross teeth. But he looked awesome. He had a double-sided lightsaber. Ray Parker, who was told in X-Men, I remember finding that out, and he's, Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe. He did an excellent job as Darth Maul, and just, lightsabers, and they're flipping and jumping, and he kills Qui-Gon, and then he got, like, probably the best part of that whole movie, after he killed Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan was, like, angry, and there's no music, it was just straight sound effects. That's the best part of all of Phantom Menace to me, is after that final laser drops and there's no music. It's like they do little drum lead up and then they cut everything and it's just lightsabers. And every time I think of that, I'm like, that is just that's probably like my favorite point out of all 3 of the prequels, was that specific one moment. And it's because partly because we had such a great character in Darth Maul. And I'm so glad that they didn't kill him in this, and we get to see more Darth Maul continue on, because I think everyone wants that, outside of the double-sided lightsaber stuff, which is just really awesome. He's a deadly character, and now he's older. He's very cunning. We've never seen like this like secret cunning side, which we never were able to, because everyone knew who Darth Maul was, in Clone Wars. So we got to see that at least a little bit, with Ezra before he was introduced to Kanan and Ahsoka. So I love that. I just love every moment of that. I don't want, it's already 12 extra minutes, so I don't want this to go on too much longer, but it was a beautiful finale. I cannot wait for season 3. I don't know what we should expect. I don't know if they'll be bringing in other characters, maybe from Clone Wars. I would love it if somehow they put Obi-Wan in this, but if they did that, of course they couldn't have Darth Vader in the same episode because it's like, he's not supposed to know where he's at. But even if they don't, it'll be amazing. Whatever happens, I'm excited for it. Like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this finale, what you guys think we're going to be getting for season 3, what you guys thought about this season in general compared to season 1. I think this was definitely a better season than season 1, which was, in its own right, definitely amazing. I think the only thing with this season is the fact that I felt the Inquisitors weren't used enough, maybe. And that was probably first half of the season. And they weren't used really too much in the second half either. But the second half of this season has just been perfection, honestly. Like, the only episode that wasn't, like, super crazy epic was the Chopper episode. And even that was surprisingly really good. Like, it was way better than I thought it was going to be, with it just being about Chopper. So every episode, it was like, Force episode or backstory, Sabine backstory, Hera, Zeb, which introduced like a new name for the Force and his home planet, like his original species home planet. All this epic stuff for the second half of this season was just amazing. So just great. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a show do that, where it's like first half of the season really cool, really awesome. They had great episodes like the Force sensitive children and other stuff. The introduction of the Inquisitors, all great stuff. And then come back from that mid-season for the mid-season premiere, and then after that, everything was just like, holy crap, these are all perfect. And I just don't think I've ever seen a show do that. But great finale, like I said, can't say it enough. Great finale. Want to know what you guys thought about this finale, this entire season, and of course what you guys are expecting for season 3, what you want to see from season 3 based on where we left things off. For me, just more Darth Maul. I definitely want to see where they go with Ahsoka for sure. And I'm curious. I'm going to have to go back and check to see if she lost her arm or if she really is holding her other arm. But just because they were battling, I'm just going to go with she lost her arm. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't really know. But thank you guys for checking this out, of course. Please leave all your comments down in the comment section below about this finale, where we're going, where we've been for these 2 seasons, which... I didn't know this was going to be the finale until the promo last week, but man, it was absolutely amazing. I'm just going to keep saying that, but it was just leagues beyond. Like, and I love the first finale. I think this finale completely obliterates the first season finale. Like, the first one was really great, but this was like, man, it was like 5 times as good as the first finale. It wasn't even like double. It was like 5 times as good. And it was just crazy unbelievable. But doing great work with this show. Can't wait to see season 3, like I said. Definitely want you guys to put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thank you guys for checking this one out. Also, just to show this off for anyone who's randomly coming across my channel, got a little Empire Strikes Back picture up, under my head. That was you guys could see that while if I was leaning up high enough. But wanted to do that because I'm sure a lot of people are going to come across this that didn't come across my other review where I was wearing this, because I don't think I did it for the last episode actually, but for the other ones, just for you guys who didn't see it, Empire Strikes Back, Vader versus Luke, and boy did we have some battles that rivaled that in this one. But comments down in the comment section below. Definitely thank you guys for checking this video out.